So, Season 4 is what we're currently on. Season 5 is coming up in about a month, which would put us mid to late June. It's like a few days and a month, so like, say, June 20th or something like that. Season 5 contains a new limited time event. Great. Events are really just a way for them to show off new skins that they charge $20+ for in the store. They've mostly been very underwhelming. They last about a week or 2 weeks, and there's not usually much. There's like one reward. Usually they'll give you like one skin. Maybe they'll give you a title or 3 titles, or like a souvenir, which is the worst kind of thing to show off. It's nothing anybody cares about at this point. In fact, they've completely deleted my interest in events. They used to be the thing you looked forward to the most as an Overwatch fan. When the new events come up, it's like, oh, good, there's going to be a slew of new skins, new content's coming, stuff's happening. And now, even if they're new events, I'm already cynical about them because there won't be anything worth looking toward or waiting for. It's just going to be a kind of weird, mashed up, annoying game mode that nobody will want to play. And you don't even have to play it, really, because they give you the rewards for not playing it, just for playing the game in general. And usually there's, like, one thing you have to play 3 games for. So there's that coming. Yay. Mischief and Magic, I don't know what that means. I'm assuming another event. Maybe that is the event, I don't know. The way it's broken up there, it looks like the same kind of color palette, so it is. It's just like a blown-up version of the same thing. Cinematic reveal, and there's a picture of a dog. I don't know whose dog that is. That Sojourn's probably. It's probably Sojourn's dog. This is probably the Sojourn animatic they never released for her character, because Junker Queen got one, Kiriko got one. I forget if Ramatra got one, but maybe they're giving her one like almost a year late. I don't know. But anyway, there's a dog in it. Just, I don't know why not. Why do this now? Like, nobody cares, really, at this point. Summer Games is the home of Lucio Ball. Most people would say this might be the most annoying of the recurring events, depending on who you ask. Generally, people enjoy doing the Archives PvE missions. Summer Games are just sort of like, hey, looking forward to seeing potentially, like, bathing suit skins for the characters. That was the biggest thing. But now that there aren't really skins to look forward to, they're just being sold, who cares? So this is 2 events we don't want and a cinematic for a character that's been out for 8 months. Pretty weird. 5v5 mini comp season. I don't know what that even means. Mini comp season? 5v5 is already what we play on. What do they mean mini? Is this like mini Overwatch? Like that little weird custom game mode where everything's chaos all the time? Are they putting that into comp? Or are they shortening the season? Is it like a 2-season season? I don't know what that means. On Fire returns. If you don't know what On Fire is, that was a very silly little sort of extra quality of life feature that Overwatch 1 had that they took out. Not necessarily that they intended to leave out, but it was still being developed because, again, most people don't know this, but Overwatch 2 is released in early access. It's not finished. And I'm not saying that as a sort of slight against it. It is actually not a finished game. They have said so themselves, but when the game released, they sort of started distancing themselves from that messaging. So the On Fire thing is when you get a certain amount of points by doing actions in the game, whether that be healing, assisting, damaging, killing, doing ult stuff, like whatever you're doing, it adds up to On Fire points. And when you get enough of those in a short span of time, you cross a threshold that causes your character to go on fire, sort of in the NBA Jam sense of the word, where your portrait will actually emit flames, and then on the scoreboard people can see you're performing above average. And that feature has still been in the game this whole time. They've just taken away the graphics because they didn't have that all sorted out. So now I guess they're adding the graphics back in with all of the flourishes that entails. But the characters still all had voice lines for it. The old ones, the new ones, everybody's done voice lines. So there was no doubt this was coming back eventually. It was just weird that they left it all in to the extent that they did. Hey, Brinzer, how's it going? And creator workshop mode. Well, whenever they say creator, they mean like streamers, but I don't really know what creators need a workshop mode for or what that really means. So it's another kind of ambiguous one. I don't know. I'm sure that's fine, but I don't really know what that means. So yeah, altogether, nothing coming in Season 5 at all? I guess the theme is probably going to be some sort of magic theme, so witches and, Warcraft. I do like skins in that general direction. It's probably going to make for some interesting stuff for the Battle Pass, I guess. They also just, did one for Kiriko already, so maybe they'll have more. Probably these were things that were coming down the line for ages, and they just didn't have them sorted out in time. So I don't know if you noticed this, but in Season 1, the theme was Cyberpunk, and they've released about 6 more Cyberpunk-themed skins after that season ended, because they were probably in the pipeline and didn't line up with the Season 1 content plan. So they've just been releasing them sort of piecemeal onto the shop whenever they're ready. And I think they've just had, like, a whole bunch of different themes that they didn't quite coordinate in time, and they're just kind of dispersing them amongst whatever. So then, whatever. Okay, so Season 5 is basically a wash as far as I can tell. So that's 2 more months out. So now we're... So let's see, that was the end of June, so then we're end of July, end of August, so we're like September-ish, because it's 9 weeks for each season. So Season 6 is about the beginning of September here or thereabouts, and then we're getting story missions, which is the thing that everybody was just absolutely frothing at the mouth for this whole time. It's very interesting that they include story missions as a roadmap plan and not in some sort of grandiose, explosive reveal trailer. Because, like, for this being the main point of Overwatch 2, to be relegated to, sort of like to a bullet point in a graphic released on their Twitter, is a really strange way to do this. I mean, I'm sure nobody really cares at the end of the day. It's just an odd way to do your marketing. But this was the reason for making Overwatch 2, is to do the story missions. And they've never fully explained now what the plan really is for them ever since Jeff Kaplan left. And that's already been over a year ago. Aaron Keller took over, and we've just not really gotten much in the way of real news. I mean, they did a stream where they kind of talked in very vague sense about it. But we've never gotten anything concrete. And so the only thing we've ever really seen for real, other than some mock-ups and some quick clips in that context I just mentioned, was back in 2019, they did a content creator summit kind of thing for BlizzCon, and they did or I forget if it was for BlizzCon, maybe it was its own event, I forget. But they actually showed off the Rio mission of PvE, and that was in 2019. And I believe they've probably scrapped everything that they were working on at that point and started over, because it's been such a long time, and they've been, toiling away at something. I mean, my personal belief is that they've probably scrapped everything, like, multiple times, maybe, and maybe there was, like, 2 years where no development happened. I really can't account for the timeline of Overwatch 2. It's been so confusingly complex and filled with holes and stories and confusing, sort of conflicting information from various people on the inside. Everybody that knows what's going on doesn't want to talk about what happened with development, and most of them have all quit Blizzard. So, there was, I'm sure, an acclimation period between COVID and hiring on, like, an entirely new staff. There was all sorts of new folks that needed to get trained up, learn what they were doing in the roles that they were now put into on their new teams. I'm not saying this stuff should have been instantaneous, but no matter how you cut it, there's, like, at least a year and a half of unaccounted for development time. And whether that went into story missions that got trashed, it may have gone nowhere. Maybe it went into Bobby Kotick, who was apparently dropping by Blizzard offices to tell Team 4 to make the game a certain way, and like demanding stuff of them and then scrapping it all, because that apparently happened several times, we've heard. So anyway, here we are, sort of the middle point of 2023, and we're going to possibly be getting story missions added to the game in September or October, somewhere around there. But we don't know if they're paid for. We don't know if they're their own discrete releases. That's an awful sentence, by the way, discrete releases. We don't know really any details aside from this image at this very moment, which is why I was saying it's an odd choice to release this as, well, simply a graphic, you know, with no auxiliary presentational information. Hi, Laura. This is sort of this type of thing you need to have context for, because it's got so much built into it. There's so much time of people being, like, losing their minds speculating about this, to then get to the point and just go, you know, they're coming soon. But maybe it'll be cool. I don't know. I mean, really, a lot of folks are really excited about the whole idea of there being skill trees and sort of an RPG leveling system, having a sort of Left 4 Dead style campaign to play with your friends in co-op. I mean, I'm certainly for it with the state of the matchmaking of the game currently, which is abysmally bad. Like, literally the worst the game has ever been right now. Having an alternative that doesn't involve playing against other real people sounds really nice. No, you're totally fine, Laura. I understand. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing more specifics, and, you know, I might have to eat my words. Maybe later tonight they'll drop some extra presentational information about this. But right now, all we've got is this graphic. And, of course, Season 6 comes with another support hero. Lifeweaver was Season 4's support hero. We were meant to get 2 back-to-back, so fair enough. Lifeweaver seems to not be in a very good position, and I'm seeing basically his treatment right now is like, don't play as him, really. I mean, if you're trying to be competitive, obviously play whoever you want. But if you're trying to win, the advice from the top down tends to be, just don't play as him right now. He really needs some buffs pretty badly. And most people in the metal ranks don't really know how to use him correctly, so it's sort of a throw pick, unfortunately. So the newest support hero we've got just doesn't really add anything to the game. Anyway, that's gonna be interesting. I'm really curious what niche they think needs to be filled with the next support hero. I hope it's something that is a little bit more suited to my personal taste. Not that, you know, I don't personally think Lifeweaver is that bad of a concept. I do think it could have been executed a lot better. The idea that this pull option now exists, this tether to pull your team away from danger, it's an okay concept, but it's rife for abuse, and it's also, even in the best of hands, rife to be used wrong. Hi, Softclaws, how's it going? And I don't think it's really being abused as much as we were expecting it to be, but a lot of people are just using it incorrectly and kind of making the game less enjoyable. The Reddit kind of lol meme has been, you know, Ryan is about to shatter, and then the Lifeweaver pulls him out at the last second, so the shatter just misses. It's like, that has actually happened a couple of times, but not very often at all. Thanks very much, Ghost Star, for the Twitch Prime for 15 months. Glad to have you back again, Ghost Star. And the other thing that I found really strange about the Lifeweaver release was that they immediately had to rework him within like 2 weeks of releasing the character, because they just apparently didn't understand that he felt clunky as shit to play as. They had you swapping weapons. You know the way you swap between Mercy's staff, her Kadusha's staff, and her pistol? They had him doing that with his hand. So it was actually 2 separate weapons, where you would hold your hand open for heals, and then you'd turn it over like this to do damage. Rather than, like Moira, where one hand gives health and the other damages. And it honestly doesn't matter what hand he uses, but the idea is you shouldn't need to scroll between your weapons, essentially, to switch back and forth between doing damage and healing, especially when you've got a slow, clunky, charge-style heal like Lifeweaver. Hey, how's it going? Shubkowski, how's it going? It's just a very strange decision that they went and had to release him and immediately undo the decisions they just made very shortly after release to go, oh, you're right. Releasing him in the state he's in with these controls doesn't make any sense. And so there was basically like a fan mod in the workshop where somebody had sort of redone his controls in the way that we all had imagined would make more sense. And Blizzard was like, that. We'll just do that. And they just did that. Yeah, Chubb, I'm talking about the roadmap that just dropped for seasons 5 and 6 and I guess sort of 7. And going through where we're at the moment. So, I mean, Ramatra as a new hero seemed decent. But I think the difference, and I don't know 100% if this is actually true, but I'd heard that Ramatra was the last hero that Jeff Kaplan had a hand on. And the other Jeff as well, who was the lead hero designer before he left as well. So all the Jeffs left. And I guess Aaron took over when Lifeweaver was coming into fruition, or the plans were being crystallized at that point. So I don't know, maybe that's incorrect, but it would kind of explain some of the confusion around the release on Lifeweaver for me. And I can feel the chaos in Team 4 through the actions as they're delivered to us. Right, so that was new support hero, Season 6. We knew this was coming, don't know what the support hero is going to be. I'm sure we'll get new details about a week before Season 6 comes out. So like in the end of August, early September, something like that. I don't know what Flashpoint is. Is that the new mode? They have been teasing us that there's going to be, in addition to Push, another new mode. And they said when the new mode comes out, it will have another set of at least 3 maps. So I don't know if that's what they're getting at. They didn't actually mention a new map for Season 5, and there was supposed to be one with every off-hero season, so maybe that's why. Maybe they're just saving up all the maps for Flashpoint, if that's what that means. Yeah, Lifeweaver was support. They did two supports in a row. So they did the Overwatch 2 release heroes, which were Sojourn, which was a DPS, Junker Queen, which is a tank, and Kiriko, which is support. And then they released Ramatra after that, and then Lifeweaver after that, and so that was another tank and another support. So that puts us at 5 heroes that are new since Overwatch 2 came out. In the ensuing year, we will end up with 6 in total. So, yeah, we got an extra one for December, and then it's going to go on, off every season, alternating between hero and map, is the way they described it. So, I don't know what Flashpoint is. Maybe it's the new mode. Probably it's the new mode. They haven't really talked about it much. Hero Mastery? I don't know what that is either. I actually can barely even guess. Based on that image, I mean, it looks kind of like a training mode, right? It also says firing range underneath that, which makes me wonder, is this like, are they doing revamped tutorials? Because honestly, they need them. I've been saying since Overwatch 1, they've needed to redo the tutorial system completely, because it doesn't have internal information for the players. And all you get, excuse me, when you play through the tutorial now, you get like a little interaction with Tracer as she talks to you, the player character playing as Soldier, and they just run you through Soldier's moves, and that's it, and like teach you about contesting payloads. It's the most basic possible thing, and from there they just expect you to find resources online. People don't know how to play the game, and you can see that immediately if you start playing it. There's always something going weird in every game now. There's people who don't know that the payload even is there. They don't know what the focus is supposed to be. They don't know when to retreat. Like, the general consensus of the game is the new players have kind of taken it over in that way. And it's very frustrating as a veteran of the game for many years to keep finding myself in games where no one knows what they're doing. And I don't mean that as to just, punch down on new players. Obviously, everyone has to learn how the game works, and it's a weirdly complicated game. There's nothing else exactly like it. And I think it is absolutely incumbent on the devs to teach how the game is played in the game. It shouldn't even be a question. So hopefully that's what Hero Mastery is. I hope it's a tutorial that's individual to every individual hero, because that should be a prerequisite. Now that you've got an unlock system to try and onboard new players, they need to play a tutorial for each hero. It's just easy. And it also says player progression system, which I'm quite curious about. I think of all the things up to this point, other than the new hero and the story missions, player progression system I kind of want to know more about. Because one of the things they took away with Overwatch 2 is there was a universal account progression system where you had an endlessly increasing XP bar. You would always keep getting levels, and they would keep adding onto your profile, and you get little stars every 100 every 100 level ups you got would add on to your status, and you'd eventually roll over. You get 5 stars in bronze, and then you turn your profile into silver, and you get 5 stars in silver, and on to, gold, platinum. Essentially, just keeps going up. So when Overwatch 2 came out, rather than add on to that system so there's some other progression mechanic, they took it out entirely. They took a snapshot of what your rank was as of that moment and put it on your profile just for you to see. And instead of having that progression system, which was universal and felt, somewhat rewarding, at least it was something to acknowledge your time put in, they just made it all about every season's battle pass. And the battle pass runs out. And once it's over, it's over. So, there's 80 levels worth of content, although maybe about 10 of those 80 levels are actually substantial. And you have to pay every single season if you want to get all the content out of it. So once you beat level 80 on the Battle Pass, that's all the content. The next 120 levels up to level 200 are titles. All those titles are just text. They're just little text bits you can put underneath your profile. So you can have it say, things like Officer or, Olympian or Cyber Demon. And as you get progressively further toward the 200 rank, which is the very, very end of the Battle Pass, they get more and more daunting sounding, they're more intimidating sounding titles. As I said, Cyber Demon was the highest rank reward for Season 1's Battle Pass. That was, you beat the Battle Pass, you got everything. And once that's over, it's over, and you can't ever go back to it. So if you didn't get it, you didn't get it. FOMO, get wrecked. Why didn't you play more Overwatch? I will say, the Battle Pass is relatively easy to get through. But the other side of that coin is, but for those of us who play way too much of the damn game, which I honestly need to work on, paring it back a bit, you end up with no incentive to play it after that if you're an incentive-driven person about that kind of thing. Other than just playing the game to play it to get better, which is also totally fine, and also partially why I play it. But I also really like unlocking things, and I like having a feeling of endless progression like the system worked in the original game, with an endless XP bar that kept going up all the time. You kept earning loot boxes, you kept getting crates, you kept getting coins. Now you just don't. And when the Battle Pass ends, once you're up past level 80, getting titles doesn't feel like anything. It's just sort of an acknowledgement of your time spent, but it doesn't matter. I don't care about those titles at all. I'd rather just get, premium currency unlocked, but there is no premium currency in any of the Battle Passes. They only put Overwatch 1 credits in them, which are only good for skins I already have. So there is no incentive structure for veterans of the game. And I think in a lot of ways, they'd prefer that veterans of the game just kind of leave. They don't really want us there because we're just kind of messing with their ability to hook in new players. And it feels really shitty, and they really haven't done much to address it, although every little incremental tiny change they make that appears like they've tried to make some sort of inroad with new players, or with old players, rather, it ultimately just feels hollow. Adding Overwatch 1 credits is fine, but only if you're a new player, right? If you've already got all the skins, what is the point? I just have another number that keeps going up that I don't have any use for. I can't buy the next Battle Pass with it. I can't buy any skins with it. I have all the skins. I can't buy new skins with it. You know, the Overwatch 2 shop coins don't exist in the Battle Pass, so all it is just a number. I don't know why they couldn't just, like, make some new rewards for old players. I'm not saying you have to go crazy, but, like, they did several events before Overwatch 1 ended where they basically just took old skins and recolored them and then said it was an event. And I don't know why they can't just make some more old skins with new color schemes. I mean, I'm not a game developer, but I know that isn't something that would take them months. I know enough to know that that is not something that would be an absolutely massive undertaking, but they don't see the need to do it. I guess. That's got to be the main reason. So, yeah, that's perpetually frustrated me that they just kind of don't really care about an incentive structure for older players. Especially when there's so many things they could put on the table over that. You know, adding new weapon shaders, different color schemes for things. I've often said, wouldn't it be nice if you could have mix and matched weapon skins with player skins? Say you like a particular look for your character, but you want a weapon to look differently. Maybe charge 10,000 coins or whatever, and then allow that to be unlocked for each character individually. Or maybe you have to unlock each skin's ability to mix and match individually. Whatever, you could piecemeal it to absolute hell. And, you know, if I wanted to get into the mindset of Blizzard of how to make everything absolutely fragmented and as annoying as possible that way, then yeah, you could do that. So if you wanted to make an infinite reward system, there's tons of ways to do it. They just don't care. Or at least they're so overwhelmed with getting the game into a usable state at this moment that that is not their priority at the moment. It's probably more likely that. And when I say they, I don't mean the developers specifically. I mean the powers that be, the executives, the people governing the direction of the game. I know the devs don't have control of those things, so I'm not insulting developers. That's never the case. I'm just talking about the way that the machinations of Blizzard work, which often have no bearing on what the developers think. So Season 7 and beyond. I don't know how far beyond these factors are going to play in. When you put and beyond, like literally every single thing on here could be some other season. The first thing it says new tank hero, which we know isn't going to be in Season 7. And it's the top bullet point. Since they take an alternating on-off hero structure, we know Season 6 has a support hero, which means Season 7 won't. So Season 8 is potentially when we're getting this tank hero, unless they're breaking their own rules, which I'd be fine with. I mean, more heroes would be better, generally speaking. New collaboration event. Great, more ads. Limited time mode. So, you know, like the One Punch Man $20+ skin crossover event. They'll probably have Naruto or Star Wars or who knows what. The amount of speculation I saw on Reddit after the One Punch Man event came out was so frustrating to me. I don't know why people are this geared up to, like, want other properties in Overwatch, but I've gone on this soapbox about a dozen times. I just want Overwatch to be its own thing. At least they have a sort of okay perspective on how they want to do it. They'd rather the players kind of cosplay as other properties rather than just become the other properties. But I'd still rather just keep them discreet, personally. The way that Fortnite has gotten to be, it's just an absolute mishmash of all sorts of weird metaverse nonsense, and, you know, it has no identity anymore. It's just whatever will make them money, and I see that kind of being the long-term perspective for what Overwatch maybe sees itself going in the direction of as well. New control map, sure. More maps are great. We need more maps. I like control maps. New winter event? Okay. That's very vague. As I've said, I don't care about events anymore. They've kind of ruined their goodwill possibilities for that. It's funny, too, that they're talking about a winter event when they haven't mentioned a Halloween event. Since this would be... Season 7 is going to be... Oh, no, it would... Season 6 would actually be when the Halloween event would take place, wouldn't it? Maybe they're just going to use the same one as last year. I don't know. They actually did do a little bit of a PvP thing with the last Halloween event, which was the first actual event since Overwatch 2 came out, because it came out in the beginning of October 2022. I thought it was quite nice that they actually tried something a little different. Granted, it had almost no replay value, and they expect you to play it like 10 times to get all the stuff done, but, you know, at least it's something. And that kind of feels like the best we can expect anymore. Like, the bar is so low. If they can deliver us at least something, I feel like they've at least tried, but most of the time it's like the most recycled possible content with the least possible innovation or anything unique brought to it, in a sort of cynical ploy to reuse and readapt everything they've already made to not have to put extra work into it. And their team is 3 times bigger than it was when Overwatch 1 was popular, so I don't really understand how this works. Maybe when we see the story missions it'll make more sense, but I'm going to be very cautious about this too, and I'd say I'm not even optimistic, really. Given the scope of all of the events they've put out so far, I think the story missions are actually going to be even more cut back than the worst thing you could imagine, if I were to guess. Yeah, cautiously pessimistic. If they can surprise me with something positive, honestly, it would be some of the first good news since this game has come out. And the good news that they've fed us throughout 2023 so far, I'm not impressed. You know, adding credits back into the Battle Pass, like, okay, well, you set the bar so low that anything good you do shouldn't earn you praise. You know, you're the ones that screwed it up in the first place. To even get back to net zero, you've got to do some work. You got to build some freaking bridges. And apparently One Punch Man was what needed to be done for that. So, and new winter event, as I said, whatever. Don't care about events anymore. New hero mastery missions. Well, what does that mean? So Hero Mastery comes out in Season 6. I was speculating maybe it was a training mission thing for each individual hero. Is it like a VR missions type deal where you can... Or maybe think of like a fighting game. You know how there's like beginner, intermediate, advanced fighting game tutorials? Maybe it's something like that. You know, learn how to control a soldier in the beginner one. Learn how to, like, I don't know, a helix rocket jump in the intermediate one. And I don't even know what you would do in the advanced one, because really, soldier's not very complicated. So maybe that's what it is? Maybe they're gonna kind of trickle out tutorials over the next 4 months? Or, sorry, 6 months? Well, they won't be starting for 2 more months, but you know what I mean. Maybe that's what we're getting at? I don't know. It's really just a complete guess. The Roadhog rework is coming Season 7 and beyond, so no earlier than, like, November. We were teased a Roadhog rework back in Season 2, I believe. And we were expecting it to come out in Season 3, and now it's Season 4, and we're not expecting it till Season 7. So... They really don't know what they want to do with Roadhog, and I've seen the developers chatting amongst themselves, talking about how they actually really don't know where his niche is in the tanks of Overwatch now. He doesn't really fit anywhere. He kind of needs to be almost reduced down to a DPS character now, because he doesn't have any of the hallmarks of a tank. And in any way you do it, it kind of breaks the balance in one direction or the other. Overwatch seasons are 9 weeks long, so 2 months and a week. Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with Roadhog. He's basically unplayable right now. He's kind of a throw pick. If you pick Roadhog, you're probably just going to lose. I mean, unless you're just an absolute master with him. There are certain situations I'm sure you can still eke out a win with him, but like... If you're just picking him to pick him, and you don't have a plan for why you're picking him, you're probably going to lose. But still, play as him if you want. I think he's a fun character. I actually quite liked playing Roadhog before he got nerfed to hell. I actually was not really amongst the people that was as mad about the one-shot combo as everybody else seemed to be. I don't really know why he got such a bad rap suddenly. Well, I guess I could speculate it's because all of the meta kind of shifted around in such a direction that meant he was at the forefront. That's usually how this works. And then there's been calls lately to nerf Widow and nerf Hanzo. No more one-shots in the game. I mean, I get it, yeah. I hate fighting Widows every single game, too. I kind of wish they would do something about that, but then you've erased the identity of that hero, right? Because Widowmaker is the long-distance one-shot hero. That's her point. If you take that away, well, you kind of have to recalibrate her entire kit then. Which, what is left then? I mean, the whole premise of that character gets diluted to an extent that it's not really worth keeping. It almost feels like they need to just throw some of these characters away and just start fresh, which is maybe what they're trying to do with the rework, but I wouldn't be that optimistic. Every time they say they're going to do a rework, well, like, Brig got a rework. Now she has a weird long shield. Okay, how did you come to that conclusion? I don't know. Why was that the thing they needed to do? I don't know. So yeah, it remains to be seen what they'll do with Hog. I don't know that it'll be anything great, but, you know, fingers crossed, I guess. Fan favorite modes return. All I can read from that is they're going to make the 6v6 mode. Because fan favorite, to me, sounds like, yes, Reddit, we heard you. We know you want to play 6v6. There's been so much call for that, and the reason they haven't bothered is because they've got absolutely no semblance of balance in the game right now. So for them to use the 5v5 format as a derivation point to then make a 6v6 balance, they'd have to recalibrate all of the heroes' health totals, they have to change all the cooldowns. Nothing would be balanced even at another level. So they need some sort of stable platform to work from if they're going to build a 6v6 off of the 5v5 mode. So I don't see the point, really. I think they need to, like, literally get the main game sorted before they start worrying about that, but I'm speculating to, like, 3 degrees now. I don't even know if that's what that actually is. But that's the only way that I can read it, is fan favorite modes return mean 6v6. If you have another idea of what fan favorite modes might be, I guess I'm curious. Oh, but like 2CP. Yeah, the fans love 2CP. That's why they literally killed it. Cinematic debuts. Well, we had a cinematic reveal of, I guess, Sojourn's dog in Season 5. What is a cinematic debut? Is that for Mauga? Is that the tank hero that they're going to release in Season 8? Are we making up for cinematic debuts for other heroes that didn't get one? Because I thought it was just Sojourn. I don't know. So that's another thing that, like, isn't really a factor to how the game is. It's just sort of extra content, but not, like, it doesn't matter to me if there's a cinematic about a hero coming out. I'd rather they spent that time finishing other content, really. Like, rework those 2CP maps that are missing from the game, because there was, like, 5 of them that are gone. I mean, they did actually put the Horizon Zero... Horizon Zero Dawn, put that back in. No, there's a lunar colony map that they took out because it was a 2CP map, and they added it back in this Star Watch event. Horizon Zero Colony. Horizon Zero map is what it is. Competitive mystery heroes. Why? Does anybody want that? I don't care about that at all, but I don't really play mystery heroes much at all. It's, like, antithetical to the point of competitive. If you don't know what mystery heroes is, it's every time you die, it rolls you a random hero. And there's, like, 36 of them in the game, and it mostly doesn't account for what roles they are. So you just end up with these absolutely ridiculous, like, nonsensical teams smashing into each other for 10 minutes. It does account for the roles, I think, in the smallest amount now, right? Like, you can't have all tanks anymore or something. So why would you want a mode that's entirely based on RNG to be competitive? How do you craft strategies around that, really? What's the point? I guess if you're just a master of every hero, you can show off that you're a master at whatever they put you in. But I don't really see the point of it. And that's apparently high enough on their list of things that they think we need to know about that it actually made the bullets for Season 7 and beyond. So that might be an indication of how little is coming down the pipeline, that they think competitive mystery heroes is somehow a solution to the lack of content in the game. Lore Codex is next up. I guess to finally have some sort of way of learning about the game within the game. I mean, I can't really find a way to be negative about that. It's just something that should have been in the game already, but it's in early access, as I said, so sure, if that was in the plans, by all means, add the Lore Codex. That should be in there, yeah. I don't particularly care a ton about the lore, but I have no problem with it having lore, so for those of us out there who really do like it, that's fine. But yeah, it's true, yeah, you gotta wait 3 seasons for some text. Like, this is all just readapting stuff that already exists in other formats, like comics and, you know, maybe you can watch the videos right in the actual application. Maybe they're embedding the YouTube links into Overwatch 2. So they're probably just kind of like summarizing some stuff. Maybe they'll make like some timelines here and there. I don't really know to the extent of what they're going to do with a lore codex, but I do think it's probably a good thing to have. I always thought that this content should have been in the game in the first place. But I think that they wanted to position Overwatch as sort of a transmedia situation. They wanted people to engage with every format of media. You know, they wanted people on YouTube looking at stuff. They wanted their illustrators to have a conduit to make comics. They wanted to have CG stuff here and there. I think they were eventually gearing up toward like a TV series or a movie or something, but I don't think that actually maybe happened. They definitely had huge plans for this game, and I think they've really had to... They had to go from like basically nearly canceling it to readapting strategies that make some sort of sense for whatever budgeting that they ended up with now. And I don't think that we fully appreciate how much has changed behind the scenes. That perhaps this game went from being enormously embraced, budgeting-wise, to, like, it's barely hanging on by a thread unless it can prove itself somehow. It's got to be something like that, because I can't really get to any other strategy of why things would be the way they are now. I think that the devs are, like, 1 foot out the door for the ones that are still there, and half of them have left. Because it's absolute chaos. It's gotta be. And then a Sombra rework, not a WeWork. Sombra rework is in the plans again. They ought to put Symmetra rework on there as well, just, you know, for completionism. Because I'm sure she'll see another one eventually. What was that, 4 she's had so far? Maybe we could get to 5? I think Sombra's given her a run for her money, though. Sombra's one of the most reworked heroes, again, as well. Except for maybe also Mercy. And Mercy has been getting steadily changed here and there in one way or another. The Mercy mains among us know she has been getting tremendously tweaked since Overwatch 2 came out. Every season, her movement changes a little bit. They tweak the cooldowns. There's something a little bit off about her every single season. But I don't know. What's left to do with Sombra? I mean, they made her stay invisible for the whole game. Maybe they're going to take that back away. I don't know. Right, so that's the next 6+ months of Overwatch 2, eh? I know it's a broad strokes reading of it all, but doesn't look that promising, really, to me. I guess we gotta really wait and see what the story missions are about. But again, I would lower my expectations as low as humanly possible. They may end up being released in such a way that we've got to pay $15 for each one of them or something. It may also be that we get, like, 1 10-minute mission every 2 months or 4 months if they do an alternating structure. So, like, maybe they'll have some sort of plan where... and they love doing this kind of stuff, so this would not be shocking if this ends up actually being true, but I'm just speculating. They may have a plan where, you know how they've got a battle pass, a free battle pass and a premium battle pass, right? So that's you don't pay it at all, and you get almost nothing. or you pay $10 every 2 months and a week, and you get, like, 80 things, but, like, 10 of them are actually good. Maybe there'll be a third thing, which is the Ultra Battle Pass, which gives you access to the story missions and the Premium Battle Pass for, like, $10 more. So maybe you pay $20 every 2 months, and then you get that too. Oh, they already have XP boosters now. You can pay, and they market this quite a lot, actually, in the store. You can get extra versions of the Battle Pass with plus 1,000 credits for 10 more, or then you can get the super version, which is like 2 skins, 2,000 credits, the Premium Battle Pass, and 20 levels into it. And there's even more. Oh, and you can buy all the heroes as a bundle as well, because they sell the heroes directly, too, if you want. You don't have to pay them for them. You can actually just unlock them by playing the game for a while, but some people don't want to spend hours and hours grinding games to play as Ramatra, which is kind of reasonable, because it kind of sucks grinding games to have a specific thing in mind. Yeah, the way it works is if you don't unlock the heroes the season they come out, then you have to either grind for them or pay for them. And so, for example, when Ramatra came out, he was unlockable at tier 45 on the Battle Pass, or if you bought the Premium Battle Pass, they give you him at the beginning. But if you didn't get him during the course of that, and you can play and stop playing at level 40, not unlock Ramatra, the season ends, and then you get none of the benefit of getting up to season 40. It's not like you can then just have it for 5 more levels. You've got to do some other thing to get him now. But yeah, they do lock their heroes away now, which was one of the very few points of contention that even some of the content creators that do stuff for Overwatch 2 found issue with. And they were on board with almost anything because they just want people to freaking watch their videos. They don't give a shit. You know, Blizzard could freaking say, you know, pay us $100 a month. They'd be like, yeah, but it's Overwatch, so it's worth it. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely silly. So it's with all of this in mind that when I deliver this news of here's where we're at, it's like not only have they not really improved on any of these things that I've been perpetually frustrated about, matchmaking has gotten worse, if you can believe it, and I've been not thrilled with it since the game came out. But not only can people not find decent matches most of the time, and I'm talking like I literally had a game with 2 top 500 and a Masters player on the other side. My team was all golds and platinums. That is like 15 or 20 rank divisions between my skill and their skill. Yeah, 7 backfill games in a row, constantly joining games that are about to end in a loss because everybody quits. If you play quick play a lot, every single game, a few people quit. Sometimes you have a rolling procession of quitters for the entire match just to eventually lose. And if you leave enough games, say you don't like the push mode like I don't, if you eventually leave enough games, even if you leave them at the beginning where it doesn't affect anybody, which is also the only way I do it, I don't leave in the middle of the game, I leave at the beginning, you'll eventually get penalties and lose endorsement rank, and potentially be put in more backfill games because you've left. The other thing is this freaking bug that is apparently still affecting people constantly. There's this thing, updating game that'll pop up, and I don't really know what causes it, and people don't really know how to fix it other than the one suggestion that support has given people. You have to go into the practice range every single time you play the game, because if you try to play comp and you get the server update error code, it kicks you out of the game and you can get a season ban. You literally won't be able to be allowed to play the game because of a bug. And they've gone so far as to say that support will not help you appeal this ban. They've affirmatively gone out of their way to say, don't bother asking us, we will not help you. And this wasn't even really a huge problem in the first season, but somehow it's gotten worse. So I don't know, that seems pretty damning to me. These seem like the things we need to get sorted out. Like yesterday. I don't think we should be 8 months into the game and still have, like, literally game-breaking bugs stopping people from playing comp. I don't think that the matchmaking should be this completely broken this far into the game. And the only way that I can understand why the matchmaking is this bad is because they're just screwing around, trying stuff in the back end, and they don't even really know what they're changing anymore. I'm being a little bit hyperbolic when I say that, but it doesn't make any literal sense why there would be people in Silver getting matched up against people in Masters. Like, that is so far removed from being a fair game that all you're doing is discouraging people from playing the game anymore. It's just constant stomps. And if you want people in the games to keep playing and be engaged with the game, having them be eternally mad isn't how you do that. They'll play it for a while. They'll be like, all right, every game I play is a loss. I'm only going to do this for like a week because I don't care. I'll just play something more fun. And they've done everything they can to obfuscate matchmaking MMR. You know, they've got a system, and they're not transparent about it, which I get why they want to not be transparent, because they don't want people to game the system. But at the same time, we don't even know who we're playing against. The only times that I can even tell who we're playing against is when people leave their profiles open, and they're closed by default. So if I try to look at most people's profiles, it says private, which, fine. Some people don't want their profiles to be looked at. But if the few people that have little markers that say top 500, and then they do have an open profile and it says they're top 500, and then all my side's profiles are not like that and they're closed, like, something wrong. And, yeah, it's weirdly like only my team has low-ranking players, and the other team will be in a group of a bunch of high-ranking players. And as you said, Paro, the matchmaking thing is likely so opaque because they don't want us to know that they're absolutely favoring faster matches rather than reasonable matches. You know, they'd much rather throw a bunch of diamonds in against a bunch of bronzes because it means they get to play the game in under a minute. That's all they care about. They don't care if the match is actually enjoyable. They just want people in them shooting each other as fast as possible. And that's not a recipe for a long-served user base. It's frustrating for both sides, and I'm not defending the higher-ranked people in this case, but is it even fun? You know, maybe a few sadistic fuckers out there enjoy it. But how much fun are you going to have fighting people who provide absolutely no resistance? You know, the difference between a diamond and a bronze player, and it's bigger disparities than that, even sometimes. I've seen Grandmasters in a bunch of games. In fact, I see Masters players in most games. And I'm in gold. And it's gold, platinum, diamond, master. It's 100 or 500 SR for each one of those individual brackets. We can't tell if they're in parties anymore. They don't show us. I just assume, because I'm absolutely poisoned by cynicism now, that most of the time they are in parties, because I'm pretty sure a lot of the people that play Overwatch are horrible, and they just get off on joining up with their other horrible friends, queuing in some way that they can fight lower-ranked people, and then they just do that, and probably make YouTube content about it. I don't know. Unranked to GM, educational, absolute garbage. Yeah, so the rank restrictions are completely broken, and it's not getting any better, and they keep saying they've fixed it this time, but then it isn't. So how do you really get hyped, right? Like, for any of this? The best thing on this whole list that I'm maybe looking forward to is player progression system. I don't know what that even is. And new support hero. Sure, like, I'll always take new heroes. I want to see what that's about. Have you considered, like, playing TF2 or something? Yeah. No, I had a moment the other day where I was legitimately, like, properly mad because of something that happened in the game. And I was like, okay, hold on a second. I've kind of lost my mind here a bit. And I just turned off the computer, and I went and ran. I went down and just went outside and ran for a while. And it made me feel a little bit better, but, like, I have been so frustrated by this game. But also, it holds on to my dopamine a lot of the time. There are days where I'll absolutely crush it on there, and I'm, like, feeling like I'm on top of the world. And that's what's really holding me hostage, is that stupid chemical. I mean, it is literally an addiction in that case. And then maybe I need to just find a way out of that, because it's not looking great. Yeah, it's not good. Why does the graphic say new tank hero, though? Just a mistake? Yeah, so it says Season 7 and beyond. So what I take to mean from that is new tank heroes coming in Season 8. It's just funny that they chose to write it Season 7 and beyond, and the literal first thing is new tank. But that is just news, right? Like, we didn't know that the hero after the next support was going to be a tank. I think we speculated it was probably going to be, but we didn't know. And it'll probably be Mauga, because, like, we thought Ramatra was going to be Mauga. And I don't know how they're going to balance any of it.